Welcome, friends, to Live Reality Games. Tonight, we are excited to dive deep with a bunch of up-and-coming legends in the LRG community. We're going to be talking about Survivor, UVA, Wahoo Warriors, Episode 8, and we are full of spoilers. So if you do not want to be spoiled, you need to go to YouTube immediately, watch this episode, bounce back over here, watch us, and then be ready for 9 p.m. because we have a new episode that is dropping tonight. It's going to be great. With us today is somebody maybe you haven't met before, but you will be coming down the line shortly. This is Tulsi from Survivor Maryland. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. We're new to meeting each other, Tulsi. On the level of Survivor fans, 1 to 10, where do you lie?
Oh, I'm a solid 10.
Sweet. Right on. Same. And joining. It's okay. And joining Tulsi and me today, we have from the cast, Ethan, part of the Surviving Six.
Yeah, rip that alliance. That was so sad how it ended, but I'm really excited to talk about this episode. Yeah, thanks for having me.
For sure. I can't wait to hear some of the stuff that's been going on this season that maybe we haven't seen yet. And then also, the reason I'm in all black today, you guys, if you've watched any of these, you know I'm a super fan of this man. Tommy, unfortunately, did get eliminated in a crazy merge. Tommy, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I haven't tuned in previously, so I didn't know you were a part of the fan club. So very nice to meet you.
This is why I sent you an actual friend request. I usually don't send them out, but I did because I wanted to probe your brain. So this episode was called The Kids of Slytherin, but I think there are definitely some other titles we could have had. I really liked Ethan's www.friggin.amazon.com. I really like that one. Tommy has a nice one to be a long title, but how dare you accuse me of making a fake idol? I would never do that. I like that one too. And then also there's Aaron's talking about insomnia cookies. Ooh. Just the letter L over and over again. I think you could just write drools. I think all of those could be great episode titles as well. So, Ethan, you made it to the merge, buddy.
I made it to the merge, but honestly, I shouldn't have. And I don't know why I was thinking I would have made it to the merge, because I think had we gone to that tribal council, that Final 5 YE tribal council, I would have gone home. And I would have looked stupid playing that fake idol that Tommy planted. So I was lucky that we merged, because I would have been gone.
And that fake idol becomes really the centerpiece of this episode. I mean, Tommy, I gotta say, I thought the whole thing, I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I mean, Ethan, of course, somebody's gonna fall for it, but you also figured it out, Ethan. Like, you knew, you had your suspicions. So, Tommy, let's just get right into it. You are one of the most complex characters of this entire season. You have this very upstanding, friendly guy. You take people out to dinner. You build these very solid relationships, and then the game gets in the way, and the deceptive nature of the game comes into it. I mean, just tell us a little bit more about this whole idol plan, how it played out. It's fascinating.
Yeah. So it's funny. When I first found the idol and I didn't tell anyone about it, I thought about, well, actually a friend of mine who played in a previous season said, oh, maybe you should plant a fake in that place so that someone finds it, basically to cover my tracks, so that, because if Kevin and whoever keeps looking and it's not there, they're going to assume someone has it. So the idea originally was to put something there so that someone would find that and assume it was real, and then I could have some more time. But I ultimately decided against it because it was a little too shady, and I didn't want to basically get myself into the mess that I ended up getting myself in. Not to mention, I'm not a good liar. Like, I hate lying. I don't lie much. Like, Ethan could probably attest, I'm not a good liar. So I didn't want to put myself in a situation where I had to continuously lie. Fast forward a couple weeks to Katie getting voted off. I kind of just felt like, all right, I'm probably the next one to go. I didn't really feel like I had anyone at that point, so I was like, I might as well stir some stuff up. Hopefully, shift the balance a little bit, see if I can, shift the target off of my back onto someone else's. And I was like, if I'm gonna go with a bang, and I'm gonna pull out every card that I can. So that was the thought process, at least.
And you definitely did. I mean, once Katie was gone, I mean, you knew you were on the bottom of Surviving Six. You told us that in the confessionals. And that was, I mean, you had some very good reads, I think, throughout the season. And it wasn't until just a couple reads that maybe weren't totally on, like when you played the idol. Had you still had that, of course, you would have made a different move. And you wouldn't have gone home this round. I think you would have played it, is my assumption.
Yeah, so I think about that, or I've thought about that a few times. I might have played it at the merge vote, because I told Erin that everyone was going to vote for Ellie and to play it for Ellie, and then she played it for herself. So I don't even know if I could have at that point, but at that point I probably hey Leandra. At that point I probably would have I might have played it then, but yeah, there's a lot more to, actually Ethan can talk about this as well. There was a lot more to me playing the idol when I did that wasn't shown in the episode. That I guess if you want me to like explain that a little bit more, I can.
Absolutely. Please.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so basically, yeah. So I had the idol. I said after Katie got voted off, I was like, all right, I'm playing it next round. What? Tell me I'm not leaving them. I'm gonna play it because I need to. And then I felt more comfortable. I felt good. Fast forward to the end of the week is when Ethan, we had done all the fake idol stuff. He's catching on. Oh, this might not be real. All that. And Max texted me and was like, hey, people are throwing your name around. Like people are a little scared. This is like hours before Tribal. And he texted me, things are going on. So I think I texted Ethan and said something to the effect of like, hey, what's going on here? Maybe you're a little suspicious of me. Do you want to like jump on the phone and talk about it? And I think his response was something along the lines of, like, let's just talk about it after Tribal. And so immediately I'm like, okay, so this is like deja vu. This happened last week. The numbers are going to flip against me. I got to play it. And I texted Max, do you think I should be worried? He was like, I don't think so, but worst case, it's not a big deal. You just go home. It's no big deal. And I was like, that's reassuring. So I just was like, all right, screw it. I'd rather just play and it'd be wrong than go home with it in my pocket. Does that sound right, Ethan? Did I get that right?
Yeah, that sounds right. And I'm realizing now that I do not make my allies feel very comfortable when they go into tribal council. But yeah, that was just a whole mess. And I remember after he played it, I was like, I didn't put two and two together that he had found that idol from Kevin's. That was Kevin's clue. I was just thinking like, oh wow, he found another idol. Maybe mine's real, but no, that wasn't the case.
You could tell it was like that optimism that you just wanted it to be real, just so you could. I have an idol. Like to have that like Survivor checklist, that bucket list is so great. Naomi, who also wants to get the Tommy fan club going, she'll make shirts. I'm in. I'll wear one for sure. Question for Tommy: did people piece together that you had an idol and led Ethan to the idol spot? I feel like that didn't come up enough in the episode.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. Like I said, I'm not a very good liar. I wouldn't like hang my hat on being a good liar. And I also didn't really think. I was so just amped about playing it that I didn't think about what I was gonna do after I played it. So then, of course, Ethan said the natural reaction is, okay, where did this come from? What's going on? And I hadn't planned out what I was going to say. So they kind of showed the footage, but basically I was like, oh, let's talk about it. And then I think I said I found the idol in this, which I did get, as you saw, I got a clue at the merge, or no, at the swap. So I just basically made it sound like I found that idol and that's what it was. I'm not sure. I think, honestly, most people bought it. Because after the season, we kind of did a little thing and people, like most people didn't guess that I had done it, I think. Or had planted the fake, I guess, is what I remember. I could be wrong. But so, sorry, go ahead.
Did they think it was Kevin still?
Ethan, does that sound right when we did the reunion?
Yeah, I think people were kind of torn between Kevin and Tommy, but those were the two main suspects.
Right. So some people could have thought it was the first idol, but I really didn't catch a lot of direct grief from that, I wouldn't say. So my perception was that no, people thought people believed the story I made up about the second idol, because it was pretty plausible, given that I got it.
I mean, from what we saw this episode, everyone seemed convinced it wasn't you. Like, we saw so many clips of everyone's like, no, it wasn't Tommy. It was like, definitely Kevin. Kevin's just a liar. You know, this and that. Like, he's the Slytherin, all this
That
kind
was
of
definitely
stuff.
a tough thing to break to Kevin eventually when I finally told him it was me. I felt so bad because he really faced a lot of heat for that.
Yeah, a lot of people, I agree, Tulsi. A lot of people believed Tommy's side, except Ethan, who had the idol, and we get 2 close-ups. One last week, if you caught it, Ethan, I said, ooh, Ethan has a crazy side. I like this. Because you've been so balanced, I think, you're in your edit, that we got to see more of a complex Ethan, and Ethan that has like levels and like just a true, like, well-rounded person. And I was like, oh. And that was when your edit shot up for me, and I was like, oh, Ethan's got a chance in this game for sure. And then this episode, when you played the vote, I mean, you called it out. That's how you saw it. So really quick, for people who are fans of this and want to play this, we like to get a little background on the players. Ethan, how did you find out about Survivor at UVA? What caused you to become a part of this whole program?
So most people found Survivor UVA through the activities fair, whatever. I didn't. I was just randomly searching online and I saw it in Facebook, and then I emailed Genki. I'm like, I'm interested because I love Survivor. I had been watching since I think San Juan del Sur. So I was like, I want to be on. And I remember a couple days later, I had my interview. I'm like, that went terribly. I'm not going to get casted. And then they emailed me and they said, you're on. So I was like, okay, cool, let's go. So that's how I found out.
Oh, cool. Awesome. What about you, Tommy?
Like I mentioned, the friend that I talked to and kind of gave me some advice about planning a fake idol. That same friend, I talked to her while she was playing her season. I didn't know the club existed, and so I just kind of learned through her. And then I think she was the season before us, so that was right around when you can apply, so I did. And also, like Ethan, I thought my interview went terribly. I was like, I'm so boring. There's nothing really that exciting about me. I'm a pretty simple guy. So I walked away thinking that I wasn't going to get it, but turned out well.
Yeah, you guys are not boring at all to watch. That's so interesting. So yeah, apparently you can find this fandom on Facebook as well. And we also at Live Reality Games, we're trying to keep a tab open that just posts audition information. So for people that are interested in other survivors, maybe outside the college survivor scene, you want to explore some other stuff, they're hopefully going to start opening up in 2021, knock on wood. That's what we're hoping for. So this episode, starts with the aftermath of a crazy tribal council. We have this merge tribe. We have this twist. I mean, everything is bizarre. Idols played, fake idols played, and we're going to see more idols this round. Then Tulsi, they don't get to go home. They don't get to talk about the vote. They go straight to one of my favorite all-time things of all time in Survivor, the Survivor auction. Tulsi, how are you feeling when they went to the auction?
I thought it was super fun. I've always wondered about how they would do that in a college Survivor setting. You're not gonna just give them food, but somebody spent all of their money on food, which I thought was amazing. I was like, this is perfect. This is the epitome of college Survivor. You're spending your $500 on some cookies that you can't go get because your ex works there. That was so fantastic. But I loved the disadvantages, the advantages, buying yourself out of the action, all kinds of different stuff going on. And I thought it was a really cool way to introduce that after we just saw some idols and fake idols and all this other crazy stuff going on. You can see how secure people feel in their position by how all out they're willing to go.
Absolutely. I had a note on that, Tulsi, about the insomnia cookies because from how I looked at it, they were at the final part of the auction and Aaron had not even touched those cookies yet. And I was like, how are there still 2 cookies on her plate?
I love that she chose to share them with the one person who couldn't eat them. I was like, that's what I would do too. He's like, I can't eat them, but if you pick me, I'll appreciate it. Yeah, I'll pick you. All the cookies are for me then. What? That's like Big Tom getting to share the ham with Ethan.
Exactly. And I'm like, is this partially strategic? Like, I'm gonna go for the cookies so that I'm not a threat and like nobody sees me. Like, I don't have a clue. I don't have a power. All I have is a freaking cookie. Is that strategy, Tulsi? I don't know.
It could be.
Maybe
It could
terrible
be.
strategy. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to any strategy. Okay, so Ethan, I have a question for you. So everybody's playing the game differently, the auction. Some people are holding their money tight to themselves. Some people have them spread out into a couple of clearly like piles of 100. And you just put every dollar bill out in front of you like a game board. Tell me a little bit about the strategy.
I didn't have a strategy. I was just like, I want to get something, and if I get something like an idol, cool. Like an actual idol, that'd be cool. But if I get food, cool. So I had all my money laid out, and I just decided randomly, I'm just gonna go for this hidden thing, and it ended up being rice. And I'll tell you, that rice was so good. It was warm. It was buttery. I don't regret spending my money on the rice. It was so good.
Okay, that wasn't in the episode, right?
Yeah.
No, that was
we
edited.
didn't see
Yeah.
that, and I really wanted to see somebody get rice. I'm happy that happened. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah, and then I like spilled it all over the table, but I still kept on eating it. I don't know what I was doing. I was just a hot mess.
Tommy, I took notes on some of the things. Did you end up getting anything?
Yeah, so it wasn't in the edit, but I was of the strategy of just go 500 on something. So I was trying to strategically pick when I thought a good thing would be coming. And I forget how it went, but I'm pretty sure I went 500 at the same time as Ryan. And so then we had to draw a rock because it was a tie, and he won it. And it was like a survivor sticker. So it was one of the like,
Oh.
It was cool, but not as useful in the scope of the game.
Did you still lose your money?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, in that case, it's kind of strategic to kind of bid
With someone?
Yeah, because then you
Yeah.
can get their money out of the game.
Yeah.
That's it. It's for all the hosts that are watching. That is an interesting takeaway. You might want to steal that rule. That makes the auction a little cutthroat, a little competitive. That's fun.
I mean, as you saw, I walked away with nothing. So maybe with some good strategy on Ryan's end.
That's true. I mean, so we saw Max got an extra vote. Mario bought himself out of the auction. He was the first one that we see, buys a scroll, has to read it out loud, and quote unquote, for somebody who doesn't know Survivor, apparently, he said, "Oh, I have to read it out loud. This has got to be bad," or he said something along those lines. And I'm like, "Well, yeah, you're probably right." And of course, we said Aaron got the insomnia cookies for 500. Lauren got something. Tulsi, I don't know, maybe we should talk about this because I don't want the guys to give away anything. So Lauren got an ability and she said it was terrible. She's like, oh, this is a worthless power. Her power in the game, she can reveal a vote. She can force someone in the game to publicly reveal their vote. Tulsi, what do you think about this power?
I think that power has a lot of potential. I've seen that power played out in orgs before, and you can do a lot with that, especially when you have someone like Margaret who is on everybody's good side. If you expose their vote, if you can pinpoint that person and expose their vote, you can fuck up their game.
Absolutely. And this is Tulsi. I'm on the same page as you. I think that power has the power to do something you can't do in Survivor, which is to show the truth.
Yeah.
And if you can show the truth on somebody who's potentially being a liar in the game, like there's no other way in Survivor to do that besides College Survivor screenshots, which we'll get into in a little bit too. So I don't know. I think Lauren has a game-changing power if she uses it right.
Which I'm a little worried about because she didn't seem like excited about it, which is fine because she was in front of everybody. But I really want her to like think about that, realize that she can do something with it. I'm a little fuzzy on all the sides where everyone's on. I can't. Margaret's with everybody though, which means she's with nobody at the end of the day. So it might be a good play to like use it on her down the road.
when you said that, Tulsi, I 100% agree that would be such an amazing play. I think just even if it's not necessarily great for Lauren, it's just going to be bad for Margaret. And Margaret's in such a good pivotal position. I keep thinking it's Mario, but the more these episodes come out, and I said it last week too, her relationship with Max really would concern me if I was in a position where I knew everything I knew from watching it from an outside perspective, because that seems pivotal that she's getting more information than Mario now. And I think that's giving her maybe an upper hand. Who knows? I could totally be wrong. I've been saying Tommy's going to win it for like 5 weeks. So, I mean,
Have you really? Sorry to let you down there.
since the start, Tommy, like pretty much I'm like, this dude's going to win.
I know. I was also Team Tommy, so tonight was kind of brutal. Well, I watched it like right before this, so tonight was pretty brutal. Also, didn't Margaret win in the touchy subjects for who's going to win this game?
Oh, yes. So,
like, yeah, it's time to go after her. Maybe not right now, but like, that's got to be something on people's minds. It was very all over the place, so like maybe it's not as clear cut that she's like the main one running shit, but it should, like, people should be wary of that.
Well, Ryan and Mario have to know. If they don't know, they're both smart. They have to know that she's got some ins that they don't currently have, because they both have ins too. So maybe they're just not as concerned about hers, but I think they should be. I really do, because I think her relationship with Max is tighter because of during the swap, how they essentially saved her. I think that saving just bonded them so close that I don't know if you can take that away. Once you save somebody to some extent in Survivor, sometimes if you have the right personality, you feel like you owe them something, unless you're a true Machiavel, and you don't meet a lot of those. So I don't know. That could be really interesting. So, okay. So Tulsi brings up the challenge. We're going to cut straight to it, and we can talk about strategy post and pre-challenge, or post and pre-challenge just fine. But it's superlatives or majority rules or touchy subjects, however you want to call it, where they vote on the best, the worst of many things. This is always something that really affects usually the game. Doesn't always make for interesting episodes for challenges. It's just hard to communicate. And I've hosted it in every single Survivor I've hosted. So I wanted to get right to you, Tommy. What are some takeaways you had from that challenge overall?
Yeah, I remember thinking while I was playing, and also when I watched back, Mario getting pretty much all of them right was a really good indicator that he knew a lot about what was going on in the game. I think that usually challenges like this, and I don't remember in Survivor seasons when it was played exactly. I remember it was played in Kim's season, she's one of my favorites, so I've seen that season a few times. And yeah, so I think it can really show someone's standing. So, someone like Margaret, who's getting praised all up and down, shows she's in a pretty good spot. Someone like Ellie, who's getting told, that she's really nice and that people like her and aren't really, maybe don't think she deserves to be there. I think she was one of those voted for that. I think it exposes a lot about how well people do, and also in the answers that they get. But for example, for myself, you saw I voted for myself for most annoying. That was because I thought it was going to be Mario, but I didn't know him well enough to be like writing his name down, or I didn't know a couple people, like even though we're down to 10 people or 11 people or whatever it is, I didn't know everyone that well. So I didn't know where they were going to go, and I didn't know, and I didn't want to make someone mad that I don't even really know that well. Whereas someone like Mario, I think he knew pretty much everyone. So like he had a good idea of where other people were going to vote, and he felt fine, putting people's name on the board.
I can't remember, Tommy. Were you a first year when this was filmed?
No, I was a second year.
That's what I thought.
I'm a fourth year now.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And Ethan, you were a first year, correct?
Yes, I was a first year.
What about Max? Max was a second year?
Yeah, I think he was a second year too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is kind of true. There is something to be said about like first years versus kind of everyone else. There does seem to be, at least in the edit and talking to you guys, there does seem to be something like that. So all the first years live in the same dorm?
No, not all the first years live in the same dorm, but like Lauren and I did live in the same dorm, but there were some people who lived like 5 minutes or 10 minutes away, like just a short walk. We mostly all lived in the general vicinity, and I know Margaret lived a lot farther away than everyone else because she was just in a farther dorm, but most people lived in the same area.
Yeah, they live in like a certain part of grounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a convenience factor then too to kind of align. You can just meet up, you can find each other. Huh, interesting. Um, so Ethan, what were some takeaways from you with the touchy subjects challenge that you remember?
I think my big takeaway was that I noticed that Margaret had gotten most likely to win, and that definitely made me more aware of her as a player because I'm like, okay, well, to me, in my opinion, I think I had said this in also my confessional. To me, that was basically the same thing as saying, if I'm on the jury, this is who I would vote for. And obviously that's not good for you if you're sitting next to Margaret. So that definitely, I think the main thing that I took away was that Margaret was a huge threat and that I needed to be wary of her.
Absolutely. Were there any negative things that came out in touchy subjects that ended up impacting maybe this round of the game that you recall? Sometimes
I don't
people
think
don't take
so.
them seriously, sometimes they do.
I
No?
don't think so. No.
Oh, you nice survivor players, you.
Well, I feel like the one that people would react to the most is like who doesn't deserve to be here. That could be something that's like blown up a lot. But the person who got that also got like nicest. And, you know, Ellie was not the type to react too much to that. So I feel like, yeah, that makes
It's true.
sense.
It's the personality type. Look at Mario's comment. Mario. What are you looking for, Mario? Okay, so let's get down to one of the best parts of this episode. I would just love to kind of rehash the moment between the two of you where you're both kind of lying to each other and so are not really telling the truth. It's a fascinating conversation. Ethan, why don't you take us back in time for a second?
Yeah, so I think in that conversation, Tommy and I had multiple conversations in person, on the phone, also with Lauren after the Katie vote. And I just felt so bad voting out Katie, and I felt so bad how Tommy was reacting because like this was my alliance and I literally screwed up their game. So I just felt so bad talking with him, but at the same time I kind of had this feeling that, he might have planted the fake idol. And I also didn't really know, because he was telling me like, oh, Ethan, I still trust you. I still want to work with you. I'm still never going to write your name down. And part of me really wanted to believe that, but also part of me was just wary because it's like, okay, but I literally like just voted out your number one ally. And if you had voted out Lauren, I would have been pissed. So, I mean, yeah, it was a mix of just me feeling bad, but also me being wary. And so I kind of had to lie in order to cover that up.
What about for you, Tommy? What was your mission more damage control?
Yeah. So it's interesting because at that point, I think I think it was late in the week or, towards tribal. And I'm pretty sure I felt secure, thinking that Margaret was with us and that the votes were going to go our way. So I think Ethan might have texted me to meet up. I don't know. We ended up meeting up. And yeah, at that point, there wasn't much. I mean, Ethan, you had it pretty right. Like once you had voted off Katie, that was kind of like, that was a tough burn to where I don't think that there was kind of like actually going to be trust built between us. I think we were kind of just going back and forth. But I also think you were trying to get like a little bit of information about the fake idol. I think you saw in the episode that he mentioned that Kevin showed his receipts on Amazon. And I was like, wow, that is a good one. If he asked me to pull up my phone right now, I am in a bad spot. So I just didn't say anything and hoped you didn't bring it up again. But yeah, it's funny because if the two of us would have had like a genuine conversation, like, here's what's actually happening, let's make this work, probably could have benefited both of us. But as you saw, yeah, we were kind of just, I think, twirling each other around in circles.
Did you?
So I've got a question based off of that. So like, Ethan, did seeing the receipts from Kevin like solidify things for you? Like, did that help? Because that's something I was very much thinking about when you brought up that it was like Amazon and you could do that.
Yeah, it didn't, because I think after that tribal, Margaret was like, everyone needs to pull up their Amazon account history right now. And everyone was like, and of course no one's going to say no because that makes you look suspicious. And I think when Kevin had pulled his up, it was really suspicious because he he had to call his parents to get his Amazon password. And everyone was just thinking like, what? That doesn't make sense. Why do you have to call your parent? Why don't you have your own password? You're a college student. It just didn't add up. So that actually was kind of worse for Kevin, because even though he ended up showing us at the end, the process was just sketchy. And we're like, Kevin, really? So that didn't help him at all.
But he's a college student. Why should he pay for his own Amazon?
Well, I have my own password. Like, I don't know why he had to rely on his parents. It was just weird. And everyone thought it was weird that he had to, literally, he called his parents. He's like, Mom, what's the Amazon password? Everyone wants to know, what's the Amazon password? And we're all like, sitting there like, dude. So yeah, that was sketchy.
So when you voted out Tommy, did you still think that Kevin planted the fake idol?
I think when I had voted out Tommy, I was 99% sure it was Tommy. But I was still suspicious of Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay, why?
The main reason I was suspicious of Kevin was because after Tommy and I had found the idol, Tommy called Kevin. I'm like, why are you calling Kevin? And then Tommy's like, oh yeah, we found the idol. And Kevin's like, oh, cool. And in my mind, I was like, okay, wait, why are you calling Kevin? And to me, I had thought that it was a setup. And I'm like, okay, these two were in on it. These two literally worked together to plant the idol. And now Tommy led me. And I was thinking these two literally worked together to set me up. So that's how I connected those two, because Tommy had called Kevin. But if Tommy hadn't called Kevin, I wouldn't have been suspicious of him.
Mario's always got my back.
Of course. No, it's really still out there, Mario. I hope you can still keep looking for it. Okay.
So actually, a funny point on that, if you want me to jump in before you move on, a funny point on that conversation. I think the conversation when Kevin showed his account or whatever was, it wasn't after a tribal. It was a meeting with the first years. So Kevin was there, and I think you told me about that meeting. You're like, yeah, like I met up with. Or you told me I should be concerned. You said people were talking about my name, and you said, yeah, I met with Margaret and Kevin and all these people. And I was like, Margaret was there. That's kind of weird. And I remember going home being like, that's so odd that Margaret was in that conversation. Why is she didn't tell me about that. Like, why is she talking with the first years about voting me out? And I don't remember what I did with that information. I think I asked her about it. Were you like, did you meet up with him? And she was like, no, he must have been, mistaken. I was like, and she just played it off. But
yeah, that was a slip up. That was one of my many slip ups.
But that should have been a huge red flag for me. I still, believed her after that. I really shouldn't have.
Thanks, I'm back. I was just charging my laptop back up. So I appreciate that intermission right there, Tommy. Thank you. There's so much that went on with clues and people talking about clues. We saw so much with Kevin. I liked Tommy. I'm trying to remember the conversation. You talked with Kevin. You checked in with Max, and one of my favorite quotes in the episode was how you were going to drive the bus over Kevin, then you're going to back it up, and you gave all the animations about it. And I was like, okay, yep, that's how you play Survivor. Unfortunately, it didn't really go down that way, but your intention, I think, was correct. Is there any course correction that could have happened this round where somebody else goes home, Tommy?
Oh, 1,000%. And the quote about Kevin's right. So basically, when Katie got voted off, I basically said, okay, all these people, I know it really was Ethan and Lauren and Hannah and Kevin were kind of not really involved, but I kind of wrote off all 4 of them. And I said, okay, none of these people, they all knew about it. They were all in on it. None of these people have my back. So Ethan was pretty high up on my hit list. Kevin was also pretty high up on my hit list. As you saw, we voted out Hannah. But I definitely think it could have gone differently. There was really no reason for me to be going after Kevin or Kevin to be going after myself. And if we could have met up and been like, hey, I don't think you planted the idol, and he could have been like, hey, I don't think you planted the idol. We really could have maybe pulled Kevin over instead of trying to pull Margaret over. So it definitely could have gone differently.
That's true. It seemed like you, like Peyton and Aaron, you kind of said you didn't have anybody on your side, but Tommy, the way it looked to me is that you were actively actually starting to get people on your side. It really looked like Peyton and Aaron were coming over there. It seemed like, I felt like Max was like I couldn't tell if he was playing the middle or if he was actually somewhat interested. What's your take on Max?
Max was my number one when I got voted off. I can't remember if in one of the episodes you guys saw the conversation we had after the challenge that was on the episode of Hannah getting voted off. But we had a conversation where Katie had just gotten voted off, and I said to him, I don't have anyone at this point. And as you saw with Katie, like, I will be a loyal ride or die, and I won't stray from that. Like, if you want to lock this up, we can do that for each other, because he was kind of on an island as well. So yeah, after that, Max was my number one. And we were trying to recruit the upperclassmen a little bit more, pull them over, like you said.
Absolutely. We saw you guys working Margaret, you and Max, trying to get that on your side. So it seems like you were really close to making it happen. Another moment, I kind of want to get your head, Tulsi, on this, because you're outside of the perspective. And this is something I've just thought of in Survivor. You see some players do this, and this was Kevin talking to Mario, and he was trying to convince Mario that he did not plant the fake idol. And of course, I can understand being in his position and wanting to make other people not believe it's him, but he goes on to swear on things. And so this is the philosophical conversation I have, is like, why do players do this in Survivor? So he swears on and this is not bad to you, Kevin, if you're watching. I just have an honest question about humanity and why we do this. So in Survivor, we swear on family, we swear on our life, we swear on this. Whereas in Big Brother, I'm Janelle, and I swear on this diamond ring, and I'm going to give it to you. Like, part of me, I'll believe the diamond ring. I don't know your family. I don't know you. So I don't know. What's your take on that, Tulsi? Would you believe somebody because they're swearing on their family?
It wouldn't be about the words they say, it would be about how they said it. I feel like when you're backed into a corner the way Kevin was, where he knows he didn't do it, he has no proof to convince anyone, and he knows that. What else could you say besides, I swear on this and that? And I mean, you can swear on whatever you want. It doesn't mean anything to me personally. Maybe it means something to some people. It doesn't mean something to everyone. But it's a little bit more about, like, how you say it.
Well, okay. He's a $2 million winner, so fair enough.
I mean, that's people's fault for believing Tony, though. Tony didn't mean shit when he said anything. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's nothing else that you can say at that point to convince people. He did pull up his, like, Amazon receipts and, like, showed people. People didn't even believe that for other reasons. There's nothing he can do besides, like, beg and plead and sound as convincing as possible and desperate.
So I agree with you. I guess it's all about the intention behind the words, the subtext, how the person says it. But definitely, if you ever play with me in a Survivor game, don't swear on your family. Just say it like Tulsi said, with intention, because I'm not going to buy it. If you swear on your family, to me, I get suspicious of people. I really do. I'm like, why would you swear on something so important in your life, like in a game? Like, I just don't get it. But for some people, we said this as well. For players like me, I don't understand the experience that you guys go through, where you're living real life, you're living college, and you're also living and breathing Survivor at the same time. Ethan, what's the toll like on you at the end of the semester? Or, well, I don't go there because I don't know if you're in the whole season. But, like, at this point in the semester, you're probably at, like, around midterms or something. What's the toll that a college Survivor player starts to feel?
It's a lot. It's no joke, especially when you're someone like Mario or Margaret or Ryan, who's just meeting up with so many different people. It's a lot. And I remember I just be staying up late at night in my dorm thinking about, what happens if this goes on, whatever. And I literally remember one time I overslept my very first exam of college, and I was woken up by the fire alarm, and I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, Survivor is no joke, especially when you're a college student and you just have a lot of work, and it's no joke. But I think we all tried to balance it the best we could, but it's hard.
Hidden immunity idols for the player with the best GPA.
I would be on board with that. That's a good incentive.
Would you have gotten it, Tommy?
Oh, I don't want to say that, but
Okay.
that's putting our priorities in the right place. Keep honest in school. I like that.
Balance it. Well, this is coming
Yeah.
from a teacher
I don't
too.
think Max or Mario would like that very much.
For sure. Mario, what's your comment? I'm sure you're watching, so let us know what you think. It's an idea, right? But yeah, Kevin, if you want to play Survivor with me, don't swear on your family, swear on your debit card, and I'm down 100%.
Swear on some insomnia cookies.
Hey, you got Erin in your pocket.
Right.
I mean, she's all in. So we start to get the vote starts to go towards, is it going to be Lauren? Tommy, how much of that were you pushing, or how much of that was you jumping onto another person's bandwagon?
Yeah. So at that point in the game, like as you saw, I had never spoken to Peyton. I just like texted her. I had trouble finding her number. I got her number. I said, hey, let's talk. And I said, listen, I don't know you. We don't know each other, but like our priorities align here. Like we should be working together. I didn't really know Erin that well, but like she came with Peyton. I got to know Ellie a little bit. And I was like, we really should be working together. And it was more of just kind of our interests were aligned more so than we actually had this like personal connection with trust. But at that point I think that I was kind of influencing some of their votes, and we were talking through if we were going to vote for, Ethan or Lauren or whoever. But we needed Margaret on board too. And Margaret, it was a little interesting because she didn't want us to make a group chat of all of us, or she didn't want like us to all meet. It was more of like, oh, let's make this plan and let's like feed it through people to like get it out. And I thought that was really odd. But then as the votes, as you saw, I put my vote on Kevin because we had told, she told me to tell Ryan and all of them to vote for Kevin. And then if we put one on Kevin, Kevin goes. And then if he plays an idol, then Lauren goes. So it was very convoluted. And then obviously Margaret was just kind of toying around the whole time. She knew what was going on.
Margaret's playing 4D chess, and the rest of you are playing checkers.
She's texting me, hey, you should text Ryan and make a plan. And you see in the show, she's on Ryan's computer texting me. So yeah,
and then she's on the phone having a conversation and just letting it air to Super Mario Bros. Like it's just on the intercom. It's fantastic. So Ethan, how much of this round was you trying to save Lauren, or did that not really come into play for your game?
That didn't really come into play because I think it was Mario who convinced Kevin that you need to play the idol for Lauren if you essentially want to move forward. And he surprisingly gave it to Lauren. So I didn't have anything to do with that, but I think we would have been in hot water if that hadn't happened. And I think we were very lucky that, first of all, that Kevin had an idol, and second of all, that Mario was able to convince him to give it up, because Kevin wasn't in the most strong position, going into the merge either, because Hannah was gone. He didn't really know where he stood with the surviving 6, with anyone else really. So I think that was definitely huge for our alliance. And if Lauren would have gone home, I would have been a hot mess. So I'm very grateful that he played that, or he gave that idol to Lauren.
Ethan, was there any temptation by any of the other players to vote out Kevin and try to get rid of those idols more than what we saw? Was there any push, or is it more that people want to use Kevin and his advantages to their advantage?
Yeah, I think the thing was, if we had gone after Kevin, that would have put the upperclassmen in the first years, I think 5-5. And that's kind of a not great position to be. So Kevin was definitely on our hit list, but he wasn't someone who were like, we need to go after him right now, because if we went after him, then, it's literally that division of first years versus upperclassmen. So it was more so, let's just use Kevin. He has this idol. Let's use him to our benefit and just see where it goes from there.
Makes sense. And one of the moments I loved was Ryan telling Margaret at one point, and I don't remember if this actually played out, was like, just vote with the other side. We've got this figured out. We literally don't need your number. And I really do love it when players can get away with that strategy. I don't really remember exactly how the votes broke down, but Tommy, when you walked into Tribal Council, how nervous were you that you were going home?
after the Katie, honestly, before the Katie vote, I would just be, generally nervous. After the Katie vote, pretty much every time I thought there was somewhat of a good reason to vote me out, or that there was a good chance that I would be voted out. But I think you see me kind of like go from up here, Surviving Six is doing really well, drop down, Katie's gone, I'm kind of, scraping the bottom. And I was kind of building back up. And I thought if we could get through that vote, which would mean Margaret was with us, like I thought we had the majority. So that was really the vote. If we could get through it, I was going to feel like I was in a really good position. So did I feel nervous? I think I probably had a little bit too much confidence. Like if you were to ask me at the time, I think I probably would have been more confident than you would think. But also I knew that if they were going to take someone out on our side, I would have guessed it would be me. You can see my reaction when Lauren played the idol and I was kind of like, uh-oh, something's going wrong. I knew it was coming to me.
Absolutely. That was, I mean, it's such a great move and such a sad move because Tommy, the way I looked at it, and I don't know if you agree, but I saw you kind of scrappy the entire season. I saw you were the last person. You were never part of the Surviving Six, really. You were brought in and you handedly figured that out, that you were the bottom of that. You handedly figured out, I think, when Margaret had a clue to the idol. There were little things early on, but you were never in like this power position, but you never gave up. You were not a player that decided to become purple and just, hang out at the wall, be wallpaper. You were constantly making moves. In this episode, we saw you talk to almost everybody in the entire cast. Players out there, that's what we want to see. We want to see you try. We want to see you have these conversations. We want to see you get beaten down and pick yourself back up and keep trying. And that's how I'm going to remember you, Tommy. I really felt like no matter what, you just kept going for it. And I thought you were making great moves. And you got outplayed by how many votes? What was the actual vote breakdown? Do we remember?
I think Ryan, Lauren, and I voted for Tommy. Tommy voted for Kevin. I think Mario voted for Peyton. And I think everyone else voted for Lauren.
So crazy. There were, 4 people got votes.
Yeah, it was like
That's right.
4-1-1 or 4-5-1-1.
Yeah, because Peyton and Kevin didn't vote.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay, so then you had
we had
4-3-1-1.
Yeah.
4 Lauren, 3 Tommy, 1 Kevin, 1 Peyton.
That's crazy. Like, so many people got a vote. It's just the merge. It feels like lines are, whenever in this season, lines start to draw in the sand, either a twist happens or somebody flips or somebody votes. So who knows what's going to happen? Oh, there's the man to clarify. How many Survivor players does it take to count votes? Hopefully just one, because you're the one that should win. Genki, yes. 4 on Lauren, 3 on Tommy. Yep. Okay, perfect. So, oh God, Tommy, just look at that.
Yeah.
It's so close.
It was really close. And you're right, Margaret did vote with us, which is a great play because, it hides her allegiance. Although I kind of knew when I got voted off that it wasn't just a fluke that they figured out that it was the votes were going on Lauren. But yeah, I was so surprised that they got Kevin to waste his idol basically. When they had the numbers, they could have just had Margaret vote with them, saved Kevin's idol. But I think they wanted to flush it from Kevin, so props to them for getting to do it. But yeah, if I were Kevin, I would not be giving that up, especially where he stood with them.
Well,
Absolutely.
they definitely pulled like the Eric on him. We're like, if you give us this immunity, it'll build trust, and you need to do that to get back in with us. And it worked like a charm.
And it gives Margaret that plausible deniability in the next coming week that she can play with or not if she so chooses. She can fess up and be like, I'm the liar, or she can keep playing this Margaret game that she's playing and play all sides and all angles she wants. Now, didn't you guys say earlier that Margaret had people show her the Amazon receipts?
Yeah, Margaret was literally like, after the challenge or whatever it was, she was like, everyone pull out your Amazon accounts right now. We're going to figure out who did this. And everyone was just like, oh, shoot, okay.
So when did this happen in Survivor? Didn't they go to tribal council and somebody was like, everybody open your bag? Who
Oh
has
yeah,
an
Boston
idol?
Rob did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Is Margaret Boston robbing this season and we don't know? I don't know. Okay, Tulsi.
Mhm.
Here's a quick take. Out of the remaining players in the game, who do you think's gonna win?
I was really rooting for Tommy, not gonna lie. Like that's I like that, like his scrappy storyline so far. And I just wanted to comment, like the thing you said before about him, he wasn't necessarily like ever in control, but he still had so much information. You don't need to be the one on stage in front of everyone to be the one controlling things and like making the moves, which is a little bit more of where Mario's at right now. I do think Margaret's in a really good position, but based on like the little preview we saw for next week, and I don't think she can keep up with this for much longer. I think she's gonna have to pick, so I think she's gonna be in trouble for that. um, Gosh, who else is who's? You asked me who I think is gonna win.
Yeah, like you don't have to name just one person. If you want to
Yeah,
name like a couple or a few that stand out, but we have Ethan, we have Lauren, we have Mario, Ryan, Margaret, uh,
got Aaron,
Aaron,
Peyton,
Ellie,
Max,
Peyton, Max.
Ellie.
Think that's all of them.
You know what? Right now, I'm gonna go with someone who I think is a little bit more like in the middle of the road. Like their name has not been mentioned necessarily in like super high or super low ways, but they prove to have like a pretty good grasp on what everybody else thinks. So I'm gonna go with Max.
Ooh. Oh, Tulsi, that's really interesting. I'm gonna flip over to Margaret, and that's gonna be my pick now. I don't know who to pick Ethan right now. I'm just gonna pick her because I think she's got a lot of information. But Tulsi, I think that's a good take because Max was like I felt like he was the bottom at the start of the game. Like I felt like Max didn't have enough information, which
Yeah.
made him not a threat to anybody in the game. And then he got to the swap and got a second life, and he turned that into his real life, and now he's reincarnated Max and is going to win this game.
I mean, we saw he tied Mario for the touchy subjects challenge. And that was without even like writing anything down himself. He didn't even get to have his own input in it, and he still tied to win that. He hasn't been mentioned as a threat or a target by either side or in any of the 20 sides that have been going on in this game. Whereas like Mario has been called out, people are going for him. He just won immunity, which adds a little bit more of a target. I don't know. I could see Max pulling it off and getting a lot further. Everyone else I feel like is way more up in the air.
I love it. I love it. This is the first time we've had somebody rooting for Max as a winner. It's your time, Max. Let's see what happens. I hope I hope this isn't bad luck and we start calling out the person who gets eliminated each round. That would suck.
I think this episode really highlights though, like him really picking it up and putting himself in a better position. Like we get to see he has a really good like read on this game. So I think that is like big props to him. Hopefully.
Lauren, I gotta post it, Ethan, because it's just I just adore Lauren's sense of humor.
Sorry, Ethan. I mean, yeah, you're gonna win. Go you.
No, I mean, Ethan, you have a shot. You're in the game still. If you're in the game, you have a shot in my book.
That's true, but like Margaret said, I'm just along for the ride. I don't have any shot at all, so it's okay.
That sounds
I understand.
okay. It's like whenever we do these recap podcasts with the contestants, I realize why they play Survivor because they're so good at like pretending they don't know what's about to happen in the next episode, whereas they know we're probably totally wrong, Tulsi. But we'll see because at 9:00 the next episode is coming out. I forgot the title, but you can find it right on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow Survivor at UVA. You can find them all over social media. Tommy, what was maybe one of your favorite takeaways from this whole experience? Not necessarily about the game, but just the holistic approach.
It was really fun. I'm a huge Survivor fan myself. So it was somewhat of a realization of something I've been wanting to do for a long time. It was also a good gut check. I like you guys mentioned, I was scrapping along. You envision yourself going in and playing, the perfect game. But it was really nice in some ways to just go in, have to work really hard, and come up short. And I think there's a lot of lessons I drew from that. And yeah, I just had a really good experience. It was nice to meet some new people. I know there was a little bad blood by the end of it, but I had a really good time. And I really, like I said, as I was giving my speech when you get voted off and everything, I just felt really fortunate to have had the opportunity. It was really fun. I can't believe I'm on. I've never met either of you. You come in here, you know my name, you know some things about me. It's a little weird to have an experience like that. And you guys are giving me some support. That's really nice. So thank you for that. But yeah, it was a great experience.
Awesome. Would you ever see yourself playing another Survivor game, including the real one?
The real one is a bit of a stretch. I don't actually really like being at the forefront of attention. That might be kind of counterintuitive considering we're on a show like this. But I don't know. I'm open to the idea. I had some fun and I had a good time. So who knows?
Who knows? Introspective people do well on Survivor. I don't think you need to be all gregarious and out there, right? Because the quiet people, somebody in this season said it, I forget, but those quiet people, they get far. Ethan, thanks so much for joining us this evening. I sincerely hope you'll join us again in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think this episode was probably rough for some of you fans, but remember, I'm still in. I still have a chance to win, so you can root for me now that Tommy's gone.
And Tulsi, we will get to see you down the line.
Eventually.
Eventually. You get to see this on Survivor Maryland on YouTube. So also check them out, subscribe. And don't forget, all of us here, we are the LRG nerds. We're Survivor Big Brother nerds. We love watching these amateur and charitable productions. Tulsi was telling us before the show started how Maryland raised how much money in their charity?
I'd have to check, but I think it was like 18 to 25,000.
No problem. Live to Give is getting, over 50 G's. Survival Challenge, raising tons of money. So not only is this a game, but for ourselves, but some of these events are totally giving back to the communities. And they're always giving back in the sense of just the relationships that people build and the lifelong friendships and that they take away from these games. But in just a little bit, couple hours, you will see the next episode on YouTube. It's been a pleasure to meet you, Tulsi, Ethan, and Tommy. That's us at Live Reality Games. See you next time.